Hi, everyone. We are here today, joined by some awesome folks from Disability Voices United, a local and state nonprofit, to one, celebrate Disability Pride Month, but two, really to get to know folks and learn more about different disabilities. Um, I'm the Chief Equity Engagement Officer here at Department of Health Services, specifically at Olive View. Um, and I felt like a really good way to learn more about it is just to hear from folks, hear from people that we know do great work. I didn't want to just send another email out. I wanted folks to really learn more about what's going on. I'm joined by two awesome people today. And I do want to introduce Gilda first. Gilda, you are the Director of Outreach and Leadership Training at Disability Voices United. We've had the pleasure of working together on a few things. And, I'm really happy to pass it over to you so we can learn a little bit more about what is DVU? What do you do?
Yes, so before we get started, one of my more important roles is that I'm a mom of three kids with various disabilities, three children. And so Disability Voices United, or DVU, we're a statewide advocacy organization here in California, and we're led by and for people with disabilities and their families. Our mission is really to advance choice, control, equity, and meaningful outcomes for people with disabilities. Really, at the heart of the work that we do is making sure that people with disabilities have a strong voice in the decisions that affect their lives, including decisions in and about their healthcare services and in their communities. And we do this by different programs, trainings that help people with disabilities and their families to build advocacy skills, learn how to become leaders, and help create systems that better meet their needs. We also partner with communities and organizations and public agencies to identify barriers, improve systems, and create more really inclusive and accessible experiences for people with disabilities. Right now, in particular, is a really important time for the work that we're doing. Uh, People with disabilities are facing significant challenges, from threats to Medicaid and community-based services to barriers in accessing quality health care. So while we continue advocating for strong public policies, we're also working on practical solutions. And one of the examples is partnering with the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services, where we're training healthcare professionals, and then we're alongside advocates to improve um, the systems and create more equitable healthcare experiences for people with disabilities. And we're really grateful to partner with organizations like yours because meaningful change happens when healthcare providers, community organizations, self-advocates, and families are all working together. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing at DBU.
And you're too kind. I feel like we were very lucky to have DVU um, recruit some self advocates and your own, staff to come and train our ER residents more about different disabilities and what are things that they should keep in mind within the emergency department, right? Um, I do remember when we came, Gilda, you were very passionate. I remember when we met, you said, I am a mother of children with disabilities, and this is why this matters to me, right? And that really stuck with me. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about your personal connection with DVU and disabilities and how you got into this work.
Yeah, so my connection to this work is very personal. I'm a parent of children with disabilities, and my youngest child, she's 7. She has spina bifida. And through my journey as a parent, I experienced firsthand some of the challenges that we in our family and other families were navigating eh, through the systems and trying to access the right supports and services and care for their child. And that experience really motivated me to advocate for systemic change and to help create systems that were where people with disabilities and families were not only included but are respected as experts and leaders shaping the decisions that impact our lives, right? And so this passion for advocacy, it really is what ultimately led me to Disability Voices United. What I love about DVU is that we believe in the mission that we work towards, and we know that people with disabilities, we're always putting people with disabilities at the front of all of these conversations alongside families, and making sure that they're at the center of the conversations about healthcare services and policies. And so that is really, really what keeps me at DVU and why I love working at Disability Voices United.
Thank you so much, Gilda. I'm really appreciative of the work you do. I'm also really looking forward to continue to work with you and DVU into the future. Um, Now on to our main person here. I'm getting ready to tee you up here for this important, big, no, it's just informal, but interview. We really want to learn more, and we have the awesome Miguel Lugo with us. He is an outreach specialist for Disability Voices United. He also is a well-known self-advocate for disabilities. Miguel, I feel like every time I've heard you speak, I've always been very inspired. You also crack the best jokes, so I'm always very appreciative of being in spaces with you. Um, so I want to introduce you, Miguel, if you would like to share a little bit more about yourself and introduce yourself to our audience.
Definitely, Scott. First of all, I want to thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Miguel Lugo. I am a soon to be a 45-year-old Latino male living with cerebral palsy. I work for Disability Voices United, the Integrated Community Collaborative, and I am also president and founder of my own organization at Troico.org. And that's just a little bit about who I am.
Just a little bit. That was a lot. Of the things you mentioned, like what keeps you busy, Miguel? What do you? It sounds like there's a lot of different things, but like to you right now, what's keeping you busy?
That's a very good question. Quite a few things keep me busy. To mention a few for myself, work, gym, family, and comedy. Those are a few things that really keep me busy and keep me going forward. But I do want to highlight specifically the work that I do that I've been doing for over 20 years now, which is my advocacy work. Ever since I got involved with self-advocacy, my plan was to do it for myself. My plan wasn't to work in the self advocacy field, but I realized that the more I advocated for myself, the more of the need I saw in advocating for our community as a whole instead of just myself as a person. And I see the need we have really come a long way since I started doing this kind of work, but there is still a long way ahead of us to get to where I feel that we should already be.
And Miguel, thank you for sharing about this advocacy passion you've had for a good chunk of your life. You said that we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. What was advocacy like when you first started versus now? Like, what were the types of things that you had to advocate for? What has changed over the years, and maybe what hasn't?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I remember so many of my rights being violated as a kid because I didn't know my rights. And the people around me that should have been informing me of my rights were not doing so. So that within itself was truly a challenge, especially being raised by two immigrant parents that did not speak the language. So from a very young age, I was in a way forced into advocating for myself while I was at the table with all these people in suits and ties being completely overwhelmed by the environment, that it almost felt like I was being set up to fail in a way.
Totally. I think as I'm also a um, child of immigrants, and I think I was everything. I was a navigator, I was an interpreter for my parents and everything, right? Because they didn't know as much about what to do in in these different scenarios, right here in the U.S. Did you do you feel like it was extra, like an extra element on top of it, the cultural piece? Because I feel like for my parents, they would ask, me to interpret for them and everything, and then they also were like, hey, culturally, like don't rock the boat, right? Because in our culture, like you try not to rock the boat, right? But if you are not getting the services and you need to advocate, that's kind of the opposite of maybe what they're comfortable with, right? But it's necessary. How did you feel?
That was definitely the case, Scott. Thank you for mentioning that because my parents were absolutely that don't rock the boat kind of style. And I'm over here thinking, well, how do I rock the boat? I want to rock this boat. Don't I mean I'm not doing it because I literally don't know how to, but I really want to rock the boat. And I think that's exactly what we need more of. Over the last 20 years, I have seen a lot more rocking of the boat, but I think at this point, we need to flip this boat upside down. I mean, we need a whole new boat. We need to rebuild this boat that we are all on.
I'm all for it. Put it on a shirt. I'd buy that shirt from you, Miguel.
Thank you. Don't tell me. I might take you up on that.
I do want to move on to another question I had for you. For someone who has never met a person with cerebral palsy, um, how would you explain that to folks?
I'm gonna share my disclaimer and remind everyone that it would mention that I am a comedian, correct? Just in case everyone is wondering, I do sit down, not stand up. I think stand up's overrated, but that's besides the point. Now, when I describe my cerebral palsy, the easiest way for me to describe it is I tell people to grab a fork, make your way over to the nearest power outlet that you have in your home, stick that fork in that power outlet a few times. That's what my cerebral palsy feels like to me. And depending on the severity of your spasms, that's the voltage that you are receiving through the fork. For everyone, it is different. For myself, I have a lot of involuntary movements, and I do have somewhat of a slurred speech, but by no way, shape, or form should you confuse that for anything else.
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that because what do you feel like are some common misconceptions around cerebral palsy that you've encountered?
Um, there's several, more than I would care to count, to be honest. But just a few misconceptions. A few misconceptions are that we don't know what we want, that we don't have a voice. We all want what we want, and we should have the freedom to go after it. That's one thing we believe. Another one is that we don't work, that we cannot make our own decisions, that we cannot live our own lives. Nowadays, through supported decision making and self determination, I am able to live the life that I choose to live by my choices, not by anyone else's. And quite oftentimes people look at myself and other people living with disabilities, assuming that they have to help us. Sometimes we don't need the help. Sometimes we don't want the help. Sometimes I like to struggle. I like to earn what I'm going for. And other times I do need the help or I do want the help, in which point I will ask for the help. Living with a disability for 45 years has absolutely taught me that it is okay to ask for help if and when I need that help.
And I think that's really important, Miguel, because I feel like um, there are people who maybe offer to help, but they're not understanding that it can be condescending, it can be seen as pitying somebody, right? And especially when someone's not asking for help, like you said, like people want to struggle with their own, challenge in that moment or whatnot. Um, what's your
Sometimes,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, what's a takeaway message you feel like for those folks, right? Because folks are like, I'm just trying to be helpful. Like, why is this such a big deal? What do you have to say to them, Miguel?
To me, sometimes struggle builds character.
Mm.
And sometimes we all need to build up our character a little more. And I understand that the majority of the time people are trying to help and people are being genuine, but we're in a time and place where we really need to consider each other's space and take our spaces into account, if that makes any sense. We need to stop and actually think about the other person instead of making yourself feel better by helping this person that may not want or need the help that you're giving.
Well, it's interesting, Miguel, because what I hear when you say that is you're talking about respect and how do we provide that respect, right? And it makes me think in a healthcare setting, right? As someone who's in health services and thinking about healthcare, how do we provide good care, but also in a respectful way? And I'm wondering if you can share if you've had experiences where you're in a healthcare setting and folks have been respectful and meeting the needs that you have.
I have been in that setting, and I've noticed that I feel most respected when I'm treated like a human being, when I'm acknowledged, when the healthcare professional walks in and greets me directly instead of greeting my staff or my caregiver, instead of assuming incompetence, let's assume competence. If I'm going into the doctor for myself, give me the opportunity to let you know if I can answer or not answer any particular question that you have about myself. Then I will choose if I can answer it or if my caregiver or my staff should answer that particular question.
Don't have assumptions, right? Treat people like human beings, like see
Don't
you who you are.
don't assume. I mean, I wish I could say the other part of that joke, but I will not do so. But yeah, let's not assume.
Yes, I don't have a bleeping service, so thank you for not using that.
I
Um,
appreciate that. No worries.
Gilda, I know I saw you come off mute earlier. I wonder if did you have any questions or any follow-up things that you wanted to add as well?
Just so one of the things that came up is to really partner with people with disabilities, not just serve them. So just a reminder that people with disabilities, they're bringing in their valued lived experience and expertise that can really help improve the systems, right, in healthcare and other systems when they're included in the decision making and the planning, the leadership. um, it's just more meaningful for everyone. And Miguel touched upon several of these points, but there was a lot of things that I was like, yes, that's so true. And to this month in particular for Disability Pride Month, it's a great reminder that disability is a natural part of human diversity, and our communities are stronger when people with disabilities have the opportunity to contribute and lead and belong. And so it should be this month, but also ongoing. Disability doesn't just happen for people with disabilities for 1 month. It's a lifetime. So I hope we can do more of these, Scott. And I just wanted to add one more thing as a child of immigrants as well. Disability is often looked at very differently for different cultures, and so sometimes it takes people different. They're on their own timeline of acceptance too, and so um, having children with disabilities, it was like a new world for me as a parent. And I really would love for my children to be at the table where the decisions are made. And so a lot of the work that I do is really to set it up for my children to have a voice and to be valued, right? And so anyway, I just wanted to add that. So thank you for having us, Scott.
I
Appreciate
don't
it.
even know how to follow that up, Gilda. I think you summarized it really well. I feel like um, definitely this is not a one and done thing. I think the Heritage Months, the Pride Months, I think they're really important to uplift certain things like within a month, but it's an ongoing learning, it's an ongoing discussion. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing more of these with DVU if you will have me, because I think there's a lot to learn about. Disability isn't just one thing. There's many, many different sides, invisible and visible sides of disability. So I think it's helpful for us to learn that. I do want to take a moment to thank both of you, Gilda and Miguel. for spending some time with us today for this interview. I want to thank DVU for being an amazing community partner and working on advocating on the many different disabilities and different advocacy rights that we need to focus on. And I do want to close this out by offering Gilda and or Miguel, if there's any last tidbits you want to share with folks, anything we want to have folks take away with them.
I'll go for Gilda if you'd like to go first. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miguel.
I'll share that just because a disability exists doesn't mean that goals, desires, and dreams don't. Goals, desires, and dreams exist for all of us, and they are different for every single one of us. Thank you.
Well, I can't really follow up with Miguel, but I like follow Miguel. Like, I feel like we should end right now, but I just want to
That
say
was not my
that
intention, Gilda.
no, that I really, really value the work that LA County Department of Health Services is doing, and I look forward to more work with your department and the just in supporting people with disabilities to really create more inclusive healthcare experiences. That's really, really, really important in the work that we do. And we just look forward to partnering and would look forward to hearing more of what you guys are all doing for disability. And yeah, anywho,
Perfect.
thank you, Scott.
Thank you, everyone.